Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I'm going to bring you some poetry today in the video. I've entitled it Relationship Addiction Recovery Poetry. I had written a piece of poetry about my relationship addiction back in April of 2007, and I was just thinking about it this week, and I pulled it up on my computer last night and was just thinking about it, and I thought I might share it with you. There's been a lot of dialogue on my videos of late about monsters. Are there monsters? Who's the monster? There's been some sharing that if you see somebody as a monster, are you thinking like a victim? It's good dialogue, and I encourage it. I guess where I'm at is, of course, there are no victims in relationships, and I certainly was not victimized in mine. What I've been reflecting on this week is what was there in me that caused me to pick somebody who was a love addict and a sexual addict and somebody who would deceive and lie and betray and abandon. And the answer is always in the mirror, folks. The reason we get hurt is always boundaries that we didn't set, wiring that we have in our picker of lovers and spouses, and in the wounds of our childhood. I see the sun is trying to get on my chrome dome here, so I'm going to try to dodge it for the rest of this. So I just want to share with you some poetry that talks about, for me, and I think for everybody, where does the wounding and that hole inside you and that neediness, where does it come from? And I think the wounding, of course, comes from your childhood. So I'm going to share 3 pieces here. 2 of them are mine, and one of them isn't really about relationship addiction. It's about creativity, and it's really my favorite quote, and it's by the poet Pearl S. Buck. I think I might have shared all of these on my blog, but I don't know that I've shared them on video form. So anyway, the first one is called Wudge. And when I was a little guy, my mother made fudge, and to me I called it Wudge, and it sort of represented nurturing to me. So I'm gonna read Wudge. I am little again. She bounces around the kitchen, all bubbly joy and smiles, light on her feet, a twinkle in her eye. Doris Day regales and brightens my tiny senses. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. The magical aroma of boiling liquid fudge dominates and warms our safe place. It was Wudge to my little self, by far the most wonderful smell of my childhood. I'm dodging the sun. What a perfect blend. Soft, sweet chocolate, bettered by crunchy, salty pecans. It tasted heavenly. It was nurturing, addictive, motherly love. I would gobble it up until I was sick. I longed for more touch from my sweet, angry, too busy mother, but I gleefully consumed that which she offered. The special treat filled in what I needed, and ultimately it was not nearly enough. I am little still. And the truth is about us is we are little still. We are little wounded children walking around in adult bodies. I wish that wasn't true, but it is. You hear me say that a lot. I am little still. So I learned as a little boy to substitute the food, the fudge, instead of maternal love. And because I didn't get enough touch, enough attention, enough nurturing, enough connection, then of course I developed into a relationship addict. And that is why I picked a fellow addict, and that is why I got my clock cleaned in love, because it's all fair and it's all good. You know, there truly are no victims at all, ever, in relationship and love. So, switching over to creativity, this beautiful quote by Pearl S. Buck: "The truly creative mind in any field is no more than this: a human creature born abnormally, inhumanly sensitive. To him, a touch is a blow, a sound is a noise, a misfortune is a tragedy, a joy is an ecstasy, a friend is a lover is a god, and failure is death." Add to this cruelly delicate organism the overpowering necessity to create, so that without the creating of music or poetry or books or buildings or something of meaning, his very breath is cut off from him. He must create, he must pour forth out creation. By some strange, unknown inward urgency, he is not really alive unless he is creating. I relate to that. I get up on Sunday morning and I'm just driven to write, and I'm driven to create, and I'm driven to make videos, just because that's just my nature to do so. That's just how I'm put together. And it's fun for me. I'm still dodging the sun here. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And that's what's difficult for creative people when they experience trauma, because it's magnified many times over. You get traumatized with a capital T, and it wounds you and reverberates throughout your whole system for many, many, many months. Oh, hell. I'm just not going to be able to stay away from the sun here. I'm going to move a little bit and see if I can dodge it a little bit longer. Pardon. Okay. Dodging the sun. The third piece, there's my neighbor's house. The third piece is about my relationship addiction, and it's called Light Brown Apple Moth is the title of the piece. And I want to start by reading a piece from Mercury News that came out April 24th of 2007, and it's entitled "Moth Triggers Bay Area Quarantine" by Holly Hayes. The California Department of Food and Agriculture has set up quarantined areas covering at least 182 square miles in Northern California in an effort to control the spread of the state's newest invasive species, a voracious pest native to Australia known as the light brown apple moth. This is a pest that will do damage to upward to 250 different kinds of plants. It's not a picky eater, says Jay Van Ryn, a spokesman for the CDFA, which oversees California's $38 billion agriculture industry. It's already been found in residential areas, but not in our main agricultural areas, and that's why we need to contain it. Statewide, some 9,300 sticky traps have been deployed to detect the presence of the moths, whose larvae destroys, stunts, or deforms young seedlings, spoils the appearance of ornamental plants, and injures deciduous fruit tree crops, citrus, and grapes. This is the first appearance of the light brown apple moth in the continental United States. The sheer number of host plants this pest feeds on is what sets it apart from other agricultural threats. The light brown apple moth attacks a variety of things that might be growing at home or in community gardens: stone fruit, peaches, plums, nectarines, cherries, apricots, apples, pears, grapes, citrus, avocados, leafy greens, tomatoes, bell peppers, broccoli, strawberries, cauliflower. Other plants that might be endangered include roses, jasmine, oak, willow, walnut, pine, redwood, and eucalyptus. So this moth is a dangerous little voracious creature that back in April of 2007 was just wreaking havoc with the ecosystem in Northern California. So it reminded me of my neediness and my addictive qualities sometimes in relationships. So on April 28th of 2007, I wrote this poem, Light Brown Apple Moth. Quarantine, pest infestation. We have to contain it. The light brown apple moth, not a picky eater. Quarantine, not safe to be around this one. Fields barren, picked over. Destructive, stunting, deforming larva. Once you see the moth, the damage has already been done. Quarantine, this Australian invader, a moving target, spoils appearances. Detection early is vital. Quarantine, wreaking havoc in ecosystems. No known natural enemies. Never known anything this invasive. Will the sticky traps work? Quarantine devours peaches, plums, nectarines, cherries, apricots, apples, pears, grapes, citrus, avocados, leafy greens, tomatoes, bell peppers, broccoli, strawberries, cauliflower, roses, jasmine, oak, willow, walnut, pine, redwood, and eucalyptus. Quarantine me. Voracious. Emptiness, seeking prey. Ancient needs having gone unmet. Boundaries unseen, unheard, and unheeded. Soul of the light brown apple moth. So, folks, the nature of relationship addiction is you have an emptiness in your soul, and those of us who've picked vampires and narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths and such folks, predators, we do so because we need to do so. You're not victimized by this. What you're doing is you're arranging for your own healing, for your own destruction of your defenses, so that you can heal that wounded little critter inside of you and not continue to live a life that's psychologically defended and dangerously addictive in relationships. This part where it says boundaries unseen, unheard, unheeded. What's sad for me in my relationship is this woman who I thought I loved was in hiding. She was hiding her genuine self because of her secrets and her addiction. And there were some boundaries, but I didn't know them. I didn't see them. I didn't heed them. I didn't know her. And that's the dangerousness of obliviousness. When you are oblivious with somebody who is by nature betraying and hurtful and really ruthless and vicious due to their addiction, then you'll pay a price. So thank goodness, folks, for recovery. I'm excited for your futures. I'm excited for my futures. Maybe this light here that I can't keep off my face, maybe it's sort of a metaphor for recovery, because our addictions really take place in the darkness, and you are only as sick as your secrets. I wish that there were a lot of really great 12-step programs for relationship addiction in the Indianapolis area. There isn't. So what I've been doing is I've been attending 12-step meetings called Sex Addicts Anonymous. And while I'm not a sex addict, what I have is perhaps worse. In 2007, when I wrote this poem about the light brown apple moth, I went to a treatment program that was hosted by Patrick Carnes at Pine Grove in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I worked with my wonderful therapist, Paul Hartman, there. And I shared the week with 8 pretty hardcore sex addict fellows, and they told some pretty awful stories, some pretty heavy stories, but we got to the end of the week and Paul Hartman dismissed all of them, but he drove me over to Pine Grove and wanted to have me stay for 45 days and admit me to their program because of the voraciousness of my light brown apple moth, the voraciousness of my neediness. I wasn't able to participate because my then wife didn't okay the funding for that. But look in the mirror, people. That's been so helpful to me, that if you've met danger and wounding and trauma, ultimately, yes, the pain is in your body, the trauma is in your body, and you need to cry, you need to work through some anger, you need to do some physical things to get this trauma out of your body. And I do that every day. I still cry almost every day, and I hit the punching bag, and I write, and sometimes in the car I yell to get the anger out. But ultimately, we are given a wonderful opportunity to heal that little kid inside of us. And rather than bitterness and fear, the goal is a life of gratitude, a life of joy, a life of freedom. Last night I got to spend an evening with my daughters, and while it was hard at times to be present, because I would think some things that brought up the past and brought up my relationship, for the most of the evening I was able to really have joy and just be with my daughters, and that was a fabulous thing. So I hope you enjoyed the poetry today. the poetry of relationship addiction. And I hope it encourages each of you to take a long, hard look at yourself. In 12-step programs, they call it rigorous honesty. They call it taking a fearless and searching moral inventory. And I hope that this material has encouraged you to get your focus off of the person who, yeah, maybe they did act like a monster, maybe they are a narcissist, but let's get the focus on the only one person on the planet that you have any control over or any shot at healing, and that is our very own selves. And let's get busy with wholeheartedness and joy healing that person. Thank you for watching the video today. Thank you for the sunshine that I dodged, but I could not ultimately escape. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, you can join and subscribe at Family Tree Counseling on YouTube. I think we're sneaking up on 5,000 people who've subscribed to our channel, and we've gone over 500,000, 14,000 views on our channel, so that's exciting. There are 6 books that I have written, and you can get them at our website, familytreecounseling.com. There's an excellent book on abandonment, and an excellent book on shame, and several other books that will feed your recovery some good material. Keep the comments coming, folks. I was going to write about some of the dialogue that's been going back and forth today, but my daughter wants me to go with her to a Buddhist temple so that she can observe mindfulness. I'm going to go. I just want to hang out with my daughter. Thank you for watching today. Have a wonderful Sunday, and God bless.